People disagree, and I think we should celebrate that fact. We should celebrate discussion and diversity. Dr. Mohammed al-Husseini defended a pastor in Northern Ireland today who was calling Islam satanic. He said, Husseini said, he had deep concerns and opposition to the criminalizing of theological disagreement at a time when our society should be fostering better quality. He said if the pastor was convicted, he would go to prison with him. Now, if we go back a little while, the Scottish Puritans, who burnt almost 2,500 women at the stake, were similar to the fanatics who settled in Salem, Massachusetts, and that spawned the Arthur Miller bore, the play The Crucible, a play I am so pleased I finally, I hope, stopped teaching for A-level English or the IB. Predictable, dull, wholesome, thorough, and dull through and through, only to be paralleled, I think, by the absurdity of teaching the history boys to a GCSE class, a play at a counterpoint with a good deal of what Dan Wootton would have called salty language. But the significance of this is the Scotland Hate Crime Act, which came into effect 2 weeks ago and produced the ire, promoted the ire of JKRowling's, and claimed that stirring up hatred was itself an offence. Words have of J.K. Rowling's, but equally, I'm not convinced that words alone have the power to do damage. Words that cause or provoke criminal actions might themselves become criminal. They provoke, they encourage, they promote actions that are wrong, wholly wrong, but on their own, however offensive, I'm not convinced that this is the way forward. Already the Scottish police has had to draft in extra workers to tackle the mountain of vexatious complaints that Humza rather optimistically assured the people of Scotland would never occur. He was wrong, and many of the complaints, far more than those against J.K. Rowling's, were lodged against him personally. As for J.K. Rowling, sadly, I think very few complaints were about her predictive text, her over-formulaic fantasy, or dull dialogue, all incidentally effortlessly improved by the films and by the actors who made her work a serious and money-making triumph. Yet these were the very people she singled out for opprobrium. She will not forgive them. Such a demonstration of defiance. Hate hurts, maybe. Hate hurts. Hate hurts is the slogan. The slogan, which even in Scotland, where Parliament works much more effectively in the UK, where there's often a real debate, slogans have edged into prominence, but words do not hurt as much as actions. Hati Matar, I think his name was, who carried out the Ayatollah Khomeini's fatwa against Salman Rushdie, stabbed him 10 times in 2022. The Kouachi brothers killed 12 people, injured a further 11 people at the offices of the Charlie Hebdo because they were offended by the pictures, the caricatures of the Prophet. Words and images can cause offence, but it's actions that are the real crime. And a criticism of ideas, even if offensive, is the start of a debate, not the slamming of a jail cell door. Offenders of the Scotland hate law can actually face 7 years in jail, 7 years for using language. And that surely is an Orwellian spectre of reporting centres. And if we're reporting one form of hatred, are we to be encouraging or praising something else? Are we to be heading for the 2 minutes hate ritual, where single where single enemies of the state are ritually derided? Are we on the cusp of giving power to politicians who can tell us what to think and what to say? Because we really must allow people, as John Stuart Mill said, to hear what can be said on the contrary side. We may not agree with JKRowling's. We may not agree with her campaign for biological women. We may agree with it. But she should be heard, shouldn't she? Similarly, David Irving, the detestable man jailed for denying the Holocaust. Was jail really the answer? Surely he should have been ridiculed into silence, shamed, mocked, not jailed. Pitying somebody, it invites him to become a victim. It invites us to pity him. It invites us to look upon him as somebody who has been punished too much. And it makes him a martyr for free speech. It also opens the floodgates to the suppression of minorities, political parties, religious groups. And silencing groups that you don't agree with, adds to polarization and curiosity. So I'm sort of pleased that Labour's Pat McFadden has looked north and assured us that his party, the Labour Party, will not create a new crime in this area, in contrast to the monolithic cultures desired by Orban, by Braverman, by Braverman, by Trump, and by others. We are heading assuredly towards diversity, and our culture, as Douglas Murray has observed, is changing, and that change is happening despite all efforts to the contrary. I personally think it's something we should embrace rather than defy.